Day 5 of our Alaska trip, Glacier is the topic of the day. Comprised of 3.3 million acres of mountains, glaciers, forests, and waterways, Glacier Bay National Park is a highlight of the Alaska Southeast Inside Passage and part of a 25 million acre World Heritage Site, one of the world's largest protected natural areas designated by UNESCO. Glacier Bay National Park is reached by boat or plane only. Park headquarters is 65 miles from Juneau at Bartlett Cove. Early morning, 2 rangers of the Glacier Bay National Park sailed by steamboat and got on board our cruise ship. The rangers started their narrations while we passed by Gloomy Knob, a peak on the right at 1,331 feet or 406 meters. Reed Glacier was the first glacier we saw on the left. By definition, glacier is a frozen river of ice, or a river of ice that flows under its own weight. A journey through Glacier Bay is a journey through time. Glacier Bay is actually the product of the Little Ice Age, which reached its maximum extent about 1750. When Captain George Vancouver sailed the area in 1794, the entire bay was occupied by a single massive glacier of thousands of feet deep, about 20 miles wide, extending more than 100 miles to the heads of the inlet. 85 years after Captain George Vancouver, naturalist John Muir visited the bay by canoe in 1879. He found that the glacier had retreated 40 miles up the bay since Captain Vancouver's visit. Thanks to efforts made by many people, especially ecologist William Cooper, Glacier Bay was finally designated a national monument in 1925. 55 years later, President Jimmy Carter signed in 1980 the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act, which created Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve. Our ship sailed into Tar Inlet and stopped at the north end. The gigantic Marjorie Glacier was a huge wall of ice. Marjorie Glacier is 200 feet or 60 meters high, 20.9 miles or 33.6 kilometers long, and 0.85 miles or 1,380 meters wide, with a flow rate of 3 to 7 feet per day. We witnessed a calving event where a chunk of ice broke off from the lower left corner of Marjorie Glacier. Sea otters were roaming around. After spending a full hour admiring Marjorie Glacier close by, we waved goodbye and moved on, heading south, then turning west into Johns Hopkins Inlet. As this is a sensitive season for harbor seals, our ship had to stop 5 miles from the western end of the inlet. Before we got close to see Johns Hopkins Glacier, Lamplugh Glacier was there for us to admire. Vessel permits are required before entering Glacier Bay from June the 1st to August 31st. The park imposes a limit each day, allowing only 2 big ships inside the bay at any one time, and a small number of motorboats and private boats. In 2005, a cruise ship struck and killed a humpback calf. That incident changed the park's regulations. The revised regulations require that all captains must have proper training in taking care of whales and other marine mammals. In whale zones, areas where large numbers of whales gather, vessels must not exceed 10 knots. Furthermore, large cruise ships must also carry a staffer from the National Park Service on board while traversing the zones. The Glacier Bay National Park receives 600,000 visitors each year, and 96% of them are visitors from cruise ships, and the rest, 4%, are private visitors. At 3 p.m., the two rangers left our ship to return to the Glacier Bay National Park headquarters at Ballard Cove. It is truly a lifelong experience spending a day inside Glacier Bay. You slow down and breathe deeply of the cool ice age air. Glacier Bay is a homeland for the Tlingit people, a natural lab for scientists and researchers, a wilderness for nature lovers, and a national park for Americans and international visitors. John Muir wrote extensively about Glacier Bay and Southeast Alaska. His writings were collected in a volume titled Travels in Alaska, published in 1915. Listen to what Muir has to say about Glacier Bay. Wander here a whole summer if you can. Thousands of God's wild blessings will search you and soak you as if you were a sponge, and the big days will go uncounted. It is fair to say that Muir's lyrical words change America's national perception of Alaska from one of daunting cold to enchanting beauty.
These glaciers are part of what makes Glacier Bay so special. You may be wondering where on the ship is the best place for viewing glaciers. It's not the port side or starboard side, it is outside. You heard that right, outside is the best place to be for taking views of Glacier Bay. If staying warm and dry means filling on every article of clothing we brought with you on this trip, I suggest you do it. If getting outside is not an option for you, find a big window to take in the views. When visiting bike or destinations, we sometimes arrive with our expectations. But you can leave us behind because it's time to let the park speak for itself. When I come back, I'll introduce my team and what we have prepared for you today. Pinnacles of change are the mountains on the port or left side of the ship, the Fairweather Range. Mount Fairweather stands the tallest at 15,300 feet, and several other peaks top over 10,000 feet. As one of the highest coastal mountain ranges in the world, the Fairweather Range was created by collision between the North American Plate and the Pacific Plate. Tectonic compression pushes the land upward and dramatically alters the landscape. We can't necessarily see these changes taking place as the changes are made at speeds similar to the rate at which your fingernails grow. A geological jigsaw puzzle, Glacier Bay's landscape is transformed by many forces, and some of these forces are acting right below the surface. We are fortunate to witness the park as it is today, and I hope you come to appreciate the fragility of what it holds, because this space will never be the same as it is today. Look closely at the rocky shoreline and cliffs alongside the ship. With over 40 different types of bedrock, see how these pieces fit together to form the building blocks of this landscape. To protect the harbor seals as they use calved ice from the glacier for puppies. Harbor seals have a thick layer of fat that allows them to keep warm in icy fjords like Glacier Bay. However, the pups of harbor seals don't use blubber and use the frozen ice for support. She made inept comments about the native phuket that she met in her travels. These short hauls of the past highlight the importance of being responsible learners. What does that mean exactly, to be a responsible learner? Well, one can learn by approaching topics with humility and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions. Put it best when she said that those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. The lasting pleasures of contact with the natural world are not reserved for scientists, but are available to anyone who will place themselves under the influence of earth, sea, and sky in their amazing life. May that feeling that you find here in Glacier Bay keep you coming back either by travel or through your memories in the years to come. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day in Glacier Bay and your trip to Alaska.
Thank you for watching and listening. Please subscribe to this channel, Words of Woods.